It's January 21st here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with the Inauguration Day in the U.S. Donald Trump has been sworn in as the 47th President of the United States at the Capitol Rotunda. He vowed a golden age for America, with promises to be a peacemaker and a unifier. On Tuesday afternoon, President Yoon is set to appear at the third hearing of his impeachment trial at the Constitutional Court to review evidence submitted by the National Assembly related to his December 3rd martial law declaration. And South Korean investigators failed to forcibly bring in President Yoon for questioning, even after a 6-hour standoff because he refused to do so. Investigators plan on making another attempt in the near future. Donald Trump is officially back as the 47th President of the United States. He's declared a new golden age for his country on Inauguration Day. Our Kim Jong-sil starts us off.
And repeat after.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear and will, to the best of my ability,
Preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Donald Trump has been sworn in as the 47th President of the United States, marking the beginning of a new chapter in American leadership. Trump's inaugural address set the tone for his next 4 years, echoing the core message of his first term, America First.
The golden age of America begins right now. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
Shortly after his inauguration, the White House unveiled a revamped website with the bold declaration, America is back, promising to fight for a stronger, safer, and more prosperous nation. Key priorities for Trump's second term include securing the border, reinstating the Remain in Mexico policy, and addressing crime by cracking down on cartels and protecting law enforcement officers. Trump also pledged to make America energy dominant again, rolling back climate policies and streamlining energy production through regulatory reforms. His America First trade policy aims to protect U.S. businesses and reduce reliance on foreign organizations for tax policy. His second term will also focus on strengthening America's global position, aligning with his commitment to peace through strength, a vision of security backed by military and economic dominance. As President Trump begins his second term, the next 4 years will be crucial in testing his bold promises and shaping America's future. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
And we now head straight over to D.C., where the grand ceremony took place for the second time for Trump. We are joined by Voice of America correspondent Chris Keskiel. Hello there, Chris.
Good to be with you again.
So, Chris, how's the atmosphere on the big day over in D.C.?
Well, the festivities are still going on. Trump was supposed to head to the Oval Office after he had that speech and signing the executive orders at Capital One Arena to sign more executive orders at the Oval Office. And then, of course, there's the inaugural balls that are taking place in three different locations.
Well, this ceremony did take place inside in a break from tradition because of the record freezing temperatures. How cold is it? And it looks like it went well despite the change of location, right?
Yeah, it is about -7 degrees Celsius right now. And so it was a very smaller ceremony, and a lot of it took place indoors. The parade that usually happens on Pennsylvania Avenue between the Capitol and the White House took place inside Capital One Arena, and the oath of office was administered inside. So they had to move a few of the musical numbers in order to get the oath of office administered around noon. It was administered at 12:01 to Donald Trump. But otherwise, it went off pretty much without a hitch. It was just way behind schedule, and now it's even more behind schedule.
Well, we have to talk about the event itself. Walk us through who made remarks at the inauguration event and who were some notable guests there.
Sure. Amy Klobuchar is the chair of the Joint Committee on the Inauguration. So she gave some comments. She's a Democratic senator from Minnesota. New York Archbishop Timothy Dolan and evangelical leader Franklin Graham all spoke before Donald Trump. Now, all of the 5 living presidents attended the inauguration, along with foreign dignitaries from Argentina, China, and Italy, as well as tech billionaires and major Trump donors, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg. Again, he took the oath of office at 12:01 p.m. His inauguration speech themes were pretty much like his campaign speeches. He hammered hard on the southern border crisis and vowed to fix that through executive order. He said he had a mandate to give people back their faith, wealth, and democracy. And he also framed the assassination attempt on him as being saved by God to make America great again. But in closing, he did have a hopeful tone, saying, in America, the impossible is what we do best.
Well, we have to talk about the festivities and performances. Who performed at the inauguration?
Well, Grammy Award-winning country singer Carrie Underwood sang America the Beautiful, but there was a little bit of a hitch. So she decided to perform it a cappella. And American tenor Christopher Macchio, who is a stalwart on the campaign trail for Trump, performed 2 songs. And then Grammy Award-winning singer Lee Greenwood sang his anthem, God Bless the USA, which was very popular with Trump and his supporters at his rallies.
Definitely. Chris, before I let you go, you have to walk us through how Trump will spend the first 100 days back in the Oval Office.
Well, I mean, the executive orders that he has planned to sign and already signed pretty much lay it out. He's going to take action on the southern border, whether it's these mass deportations and raids in what are so-called sanctuary cities here in the United States that don't enforce federal immigration law against undocumented immigrants. And, whether there are targeted raids against migrants in their workplaces, or whether he's going to target those who have been accused and convicted of crimes. So that is the issue that Trump feels that he won the election on, even more so than the economy. And he made that very clear in some of his later remarks after the inaugural address and some of the other events, including that event at Capital One Arena and also at another event for supporters immediately following his inaugural speech. So he's expected to take early action on the immigration issue. And also his Secretary of State nominee, Marco Rubio, was confirmed by the Senate just a few minutes ago, within the past hour or so. And there is actually going to be a meeting between the foreign ministers of the Quad, Japan, Australia, and India, and the United States tomorrow. So the Trump foreign policy is already off to a start. So we're going to have to see what that means for partnerships in the Indo-Pacific and regional security in the Indo-Pacific, whether he continues the Biden approach of the multilateral alliances or whether he favors a more bilateral leader-to-leader approach, as we saw in his first term. But, this meeting of the Quad tomorrow might be an early sign that he's open to the multilateral approach.
Fast developments in just the first hours of his return. Chris, thank you for the coverage today. We appreciate it.
No problem. Great to be with you.
So, as soon as he returned to power, Trump signed an executive order beginning the process of pulling the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Agreement. This is his second time to have done so, as he exited it in his first term in 2017, now only for then-President Biden to rejoin the agreement in 2021. Trump also declared a national emergency at the U.S Mexico border. In his inaugural address, Trump said he will send troops to the southern border, detain all illegal immigrants, and reintroduce a Remain in Mexico policy that requires migrants wait for their asylum proceedings on the Mexican side of the border. And leaders around the world quickly welcomed back President Trump and voiced wishes to work closely with the returned leader. Lee Seung-ja has more.
Donald Trump on Monday became just the second U.S. president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms in the White House when he was sworn in during his inauguration ceremony. World leaders were quick to congratulate the 47th U.S. president. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau took to his social media to note the opportunity the 2 neighboring countries have in working together to create more jobs and prosperity. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu congratulated Trump, saying he believes the U.S. and Israeli alliance will grow to even greater heights. Calling the U.S. its closest ally, Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz said the aim of the 2 countries is to have a good transatlantic relationship. Prime Minister Keir Starmer stressed Trump's long-standing affection and historical ties to the UK, adding that such depth of friendship will continue. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who was present at the inauguration, noted that the friendship and values that the 2 countries share will continue to strengthen their cooperation. But much of the attention was on what the leaders of Russia and Ukraine had to say on Trump's inauguration day. Russian President Vladimir Putin not only congratulated Trump on his return to the White House, but also said he's open to hold talks regarding the war in Ukraine.
We have never refused dialogue. We have always been ready to maintain an attitude of cooperation with any American administration. We are also open for dialogue with the new U.S. administration on the Ukraine conflict. The most important thing here is to address the root cause of the crisis that we have spoken about many times.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky was also quick to congratulate Trump. The Ukrainian leader noted that Trump has always been decisive, adding that Trump would provide an opportunity to strengthen American leadership and achieve long-term peace. Zelensky also expressed hope that the 2 countries can work together to provide greater security, stability, and economic growth to the world and the 2 nations. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
President Yoon Suk-yeol will attend this impeachment trial hearing for the first time on Tuesday. That means he will travel to the Constitutional Court from Seoul Detention Center. We have our correspondent Oh Soo-young standing by at the Constitutional Court. Now, Soo-young, President Yoon will be attending the trial in person. This is quite unprecedented, isn't it?
Good morning, Tammy. Yes, Attorney Yoon Gak-keun confirmed Monday night that the president will attend himself to the 3rd trial hearing, the 3rd of his impeachment trial. And this makes him the first president, really, to defend himself here at the Constitutional Court. I mean, former presidents Park Geun-hye and Roh Moo-hyun, they didn't attend a single impeachment trial hearing in their respective impeachment trials. And Yoon is also the first sitting leader to be under arrest. So there's much interest over how he will be escorted to the court, how he's going to present himself, and even what he's going to wear, his civilian dress or his prison uniform as a pre-trial inmate. We haven't heard yet from the court on what the protocol is going to be. When I asked on Monday, Court Officer Chun Jae-yeon said it's too early to confirm his attendance and that the court would be deciding the manner of which he makes his case. Now, we assume that he's going to be escorted by the Presidential Security Service from Seoul Detention Center, and upon his arrival, the Constitutional Court might allow him to use a private undisclosed passageway to ensure his safety and dignity. Now, this would mirror the measures taken during his pre-arrest inauguration at the Seoul Western District Court, where he entered through an underground car park without being seen publicly.
Well, Soo-young, it's been a while since we heard from him last time. What can we expect Yoon to say today then?
Well, we can expect him to explain quite extensively why he believes his martial law on December 3rd was justified and also constitutional. That's basically been his message so far, saying that he was aiming to defend the constitutional order and not disrupt it. President Yoon has claimed that the government was under attack by the opposition-led parliament, the opposition party, which has used its majority to impeach him as well as numerous high-ranking officials and paralysed state governance. He has also raised suspicion of election fraud in the general election last year. So most of what he says today is highly likely to sound quite familiar with us, but how he makes his case, now that's going to be rather fascinating to watch, as he faces judges as a former senior prosecutor turned president, now turned pre-trial inmate. The justices may in turn ask him to clarify whether he got proper approval from the cabinet to declare martial law, and also ask him to address the main grounds for impeachment raised by the National Assembly.
Soo-young, it seems his attendance will be a regular occurrence. Would you say that?
Well, his lawyers have said that in principle, the president plans to attend every trial hearing in the future, again, if possible, but we're going to have to wait and see about that. I mean, Tuesday's attendance itself, it came as a bit of a surprise, as his lawyers have previously said the president will attend at an appropriate time, only when the main arguments during the trial have been organised to a certain extent, and that's not really the case at the moment. So it appears that following his arrest, the president felt triggered to speak out, perhaps by frustration at his detention, and he will likely argue today that his arrest is illegal and infringes upon his right to defend himself in court. In fact, his move appears to assert his position that he will not answer to the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials who attained his arrest warrant and are now detaining him for questioning. In fact, his lawyers said that he wasn't able to meet with investigators attempting to question him as he was preparing for the hearing yesterday. So apparently the investigators waited until 9:30 p.m. before calling it a night. Presumably their cooperation is needed for Yoon to attend hearings that fall into the 20 days of detention. But as unprecedented as the situation is, apparently there is no clear procedure, as an investigative official admitted yesterday.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how today's hearing goes. Thank you, Soo-young, for the update. Meanwhile, investigators' efforts to question Yoon continue, having so far failed due to Yoon's persistent refusal to cooperate. We connect live with our Moon Hae-ryun standing by at the Seoul Detention Center where he's being detained. Hello there, Hae-ryun.
Hi, Tammy. It's good to hear from you.
So, Hae-ryun, last night, investigators returned to their office empty-handed after failing to bring Yoon in for questioning by force. Tell us more.
Right, well, it's just as you've said, Tammy. So the CIA yesterday attempted to take Yoon in for questioning forcibly here at the Seoul Detention Center, which is where I'm currently standing. But they withdrew late last night after they were met with some resistance. And in a statement to the press, the CIA announced that their investigators stopped their attempts at around 9 p.m. last night in accordance with human rights protection regulations as Yoon refused to cooperate. Yoon has refused all interrogation requests since he was arrested last Wednesday, ignoring summonses last Thursday and Friday and continuing to resist even after his formal detention on Sunday. So the CIA notified him twice of scheduled interrogations on Sunday and on Monday, but he did not comply. As Yoon's initial detention period is set to expire on January 28th, the CIA has deemed a face-to-face investigation urgent and therefore attempted forced questioning. They have said that they will continue criminal procedures, including additional attempts at forced interrogation, but it is not yet clear when or how this will happen. Citing legal precedents and Supreme Court rulings, the agency asserted that a suspect could be forcibly brought to the interrogation room, but President Yoon's legal team criticized the CIO's action, saying that Yoon had been meeting with the attorneys when the CIO officials attempted to unlawfully force an interrogation.
I see. And on that note of President Yoon's legal team, what's their reasoning for President Yoon's such defiant manner?
Well, Tammy, in addition to the CIO's attempts to forcibly bring President Yoon in for questioning, Yoon's legal team has been strongly critical of the CIO and their prohibition of visits to the detained president for anyone other than his legal representatives. And they argue that restricting family meetings unrelated to the charges of insurrection is a vindictive act rather than a legitimate investigative measure, and have demanded the immediate revocation of such a decision. The CIO has cited concerns over potential evidence tampering as a reason for imposing these restrictions, but Yoon's attorney said that these allegations are baseless and unjust, while pointing to the impeachments of former Presidents Roh Moo-hyun and Park Geun-hye, who are still allowed external communication and national briefings to ensure smooth governance. Yoon's attorneys argued that this set a precedent and that Yoon must remain fully informed of the country's ongoing developments.
Well, Hae-ryun, let's turn to our attention to Yoon's supporters, and the Sunday riots led to some serious damage at the Seoul Western District Court building. How are investigations unfolding?
That's right, Tammy. So the police so far have arrested a total of 90 individuals related to the riots that happened early Sunday morning at the Seoul Western District Court. Now, the detainees range in age from their teens into their 70s, with over half in their 20s and 30s. Police have applied for arrest warrants for 66 individuals and are continuing to analyze mobile phone data, video evidence and footage from YouTube channels collected during the arrest. Authorities expect the number of individuals formally charged to increase as the investigation unfolds. The police have also intensified their investigation into whether there was an organized effort behind the riot, deploying the Criminal Mobilization Unit to pursue the case further. Meanwhile, the Seoul Western District Court has issued arrest warrants for 2 of 5 individuals accused of assaulting police officers near the court on Saturday, the day before the riot. And that's all I have for now, but I'll be back in a later newscast with more updates. Back to you, Tammy.
Alrighty, Hae-ryun, thank you for that report. That was our Moon Hae-ryun reporting live from the Seoul Detention Center. In other news, South Korea's producer prices rose for the second straight month in December amid the weakening Korean won. According to preliminary data from the Bank of Korea on Tuesday, the producer price index, a major barometer of consumer inflation, rose 0.3% in December from the month before. This follows a 0.1% gain in November. Now, on year, the index rose 1.7% last month, increasing for the 17th straight month. Agricultural, livestock, and fisheries goods saw the highest jump in prices last month, climbing 2.8% from a month earlier.
Good morning, I'm Choi Ji-hee, and this is The World Now. Pope Francis has strongly criticized U.S. President Donald Trump's plans for mass deportation of undocumented immigrants. He described the plan as a disgrace in an interview on Italian television on Sunday ahead of Trump's inauguration. Speaking from the Vatican, the Pope emphasized the human cost of the plan to deport millions of undocumented immigrants from the United States. He said this is not the way to solve things. President Trump is starting off his second term with several executive orders, including ones to accelerate deportations and enhance border security. In response, Pope Francis urged world leaders to focus on addressing the root causes of migration rather than punishing vulnerable people. Despite his criticisms, the Pope extended a congratulatory message to President Trump on Monday, the day of his inauguration, praying that Trump's leadership fosters unity and compassion in addressing global challenges. In Taiwan, a 6.4 magnitude earthquake struck the southern region early on Tuesday, leaving 15 people with minor injuries. Taiwan's Central Weather Administration recorded the quake struck at 12:17 a.m., roughly 38 kilometers southeast of Chiayi County Hall, and with a depth of 9.7 kilometers. A 5.2 magnitude aftershock also occurred over an hour after the initial quake. The tremor resulted in 15 minor injuries, with 6 people rescued from a collapsed house in Nanshi District, Tainan City. Workers in this district, including those in the TSMC factory, have reportedly been evacuated. Last April, Taiwan suffered its strongest earthquake in 25 years, a 7.4 magnitude quake near Hualien City that led to at least 18 deaths. Tanzania's president confirmed on Monday that 1 out of more than 20 samples taken in the north of the country had tested positive for the infectious Marburg disease. That validated a WHO report on the 14th of this month, in which it said it suspected an outbreak of Marburg in Tanzania's Kagera region, following 8 deaths manifesting symptoms in line with the virus. Initially, Tanzanian health officials denied the presence of the virus, citing negative test results. Marburg virus, similar to Ebola, is a highly contagious pathogen that causes high fever and bleeding and has a fatality rate of up to 90%. On the eve of her husband's inauguration as U.S. President, Melania Trump introduced her own cryptocurrency, the Melania meme coin. She posted on X on Sunday that the official Melania meme is live. The announcement follows Donald Trump's launch of his own meme coin ahead of his inauguration. According to CoinMarketCap, Trump's meme coin has a total market value of about $12 billion, while Melania's meme coin stands at around $1.7 billion. Despite previously calling cryptocurrency a scam, Trump became the first presidential candidate to accept digital assets as donations during his 2024 election campaign.
Most of Korea is trapped in high levels of ultrafine dust. An ultrafine dust advisory has been issued in the capital Gyeonggi-do and Chungcheongbuk-do province. Even emergency fine dust reduction measures are in place for the capital area in Chungcheongnam-do province. And we could see dust levels going to a very high level in the morning. Dusty air has built up since yesterday, so it's best to avoid going outdoors if you can. But when you do, make sure to wear a face mask that can help filter out fine dust and cover as much skin as possible. It's better to keep your windows closed if you're in central regions today. Afternoon highs will be as high as Monday at 8 degrees Celsius in the capital. Daegu, Gyeongju, Busan, Jeju will be topping out at 11 degrees. Sunny skies will be blurred with that fine dust. Warmer than average temperatures will continue with dusty air staying through the end of the week. Well, that's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That wraps up our morning edition of Arirang News. We will be back tomorrow at the same time, 10 a.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.